It was one of the darkest moments in my life, but it turned out to be one of the best things for me. For true evil Johnny to come out, I have to have a connection with you before the whole sadist comes out.
Okay, I have so many questions. Okay, what's the difference between having a scene and hitting somebody and being a sadist? Isn't that pretty much the same thing?
No. A sadist, you have to have somebody who really wants to have truly awful things done to them, consensually, of course.
Right.
I've done body modification to somebody. I actually hot branded them with a branding iron. What gets everybody, I'll growl a little bit in their ear and I'll be like, and then I'll walk away. And the squirms I get from just always has people asking, what did you say to them? This is the first time I've ever publicly said what I usually say into people's ears. The whole mental, physical.
You have to go there.
You have to go
Gotcha.
there. It's not something you can just happen. For the sadist to come out, you really got to have that trust and connection with somebody. You know, where you start doing torture scenes and, you know, branding them and waterboarding them.
Oh, I want to hear about this. Okay, do the intro so we can start talking. What the hell is taking you so?
What's up, sinners and saints?
This is Boudoir After Dark.
This is the podcast about sex, kink, desires, and all the things people whisper about but rarely ever say out loud.
And we're constantly blown away by how many different ways humans experience pleasure, identity, intimacy, and power.
We're here to ask the questions that sometimes people might be too afraid to ask, and then challenge the bullshit assumptions that we've all been taught.
So if you're here to learn, unlearn, and maybe question a few things you thought you knew,
welcome to Boudoir After Dark.
Quick note before we get into it.
This podcast is intended for mature audiences.
We are not giving medical or legal advice.
Or mental health advice or professional counseling.
If you need personal help, please talk to a qualified professional.
This episode is for education, storytelling, and entertainment.
Let's get into it.
Boudoir After Dark. This is me.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason.
I'm Hilda.
And we are Boudoir After Dark, and this is the Boudoir After Dark podcast. Today, we are joined by someone very special, and I need to read this because it is a litany of amazing titles that I'm dying to read here. An edge player, a sadist, a service top, a daddy dom, a dominant, and my favorite, a reaction junkie. Evil Johnny, thank you for coming all the way to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for driving 4 hours to be here.
Not a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously, that was
We
that
really
was
appreciate
really
it.
cool.
Yeah, when Daddy's Evil Angel reached out, I was like, why me? And she's like, oh, you'd be perfect. And I'm like, will I though? And she's like, yeah.
We've had 30 minutes upstairs, and like that was perfect. Another 20 minutes down here, and
Yeah.
we're like, just hit record. We need to start.
Yeah. Daddy's Evil Angel is really good at picking like incredible people for us to chat with. So thank you.
She's an amazing person, and I am very fortunate to be able to call her my friend.
Aw.
So, yeah.
We love her too.
So, I mean, let's just talk about that real
Yeah.
quick. Connections in the kink community, I think, are so important, not only as someone like you can play with, someone you can trust, but like literally you go down these avenues of relationships. You build up emotional relationships with people.
I like to call people in my circle my kink family. And I've developed some very close relationships inside the kink community to the point of these are my chosen family. And so I consider, her one of my chosen family. Met her a few years ago at a camping event and just kind of went from there. And to have her watch a couple things that I've done and to listen to her laugh while it's going on because we're just having a good time doing it. And then to hear her reaction when I'm like, she's like, oh, it's not so bad. And then I turn around, she's like, oh, honey, the way she says it. And I mean, when I tell the story about the oh, honey part, get anybody who knows her instantly understands what I'm saying. So, when she asked me to do it, I was like, oh man, I'm honored, but do I really want to do it? Do you think I'd be good? She's like, oh, you'll be great at it. So I'm like, I'm happy to be here and I'm glad to be asked. So
Yeah.
Well, seriously, thank you. Like what we've already talked about so far has been a glory. Like so
Yeah.
much so that Hilda keeps cutting me off. She's like, "Shut the fuck up.
Let's record.
We gotta record it.
and then we'll chit chat.
So I need to dive into this right off the top because this is my favorite thing you've said. Well, there's a bunch of favorite things you've said, but the reaction junkie.
yes,
What is that?
I love to walk into a space and either people look at my shirt and be like, what? You know, they're like, but unicorns and rainbows, they're so happy and you add killing to it. And I'm like, maybe it makes me happy. You know? Or seeing their reaction to a toy that I break out and they're like, their eyes get huge or
Can you talk about that toy you described upstairs?
Captain Caveman.
Yes.
Captain Caveman is a hardwood paddle that I saw. I had a slab of hardwood that had knots in it. And I looked at it and I'm like, I need to make a paddle out of that because it reminds me of the club that the cartoon character Captain Caveman had. Now, it doesn't look anything like the club.
I was going to say it's huge.
It's huge, it's big, and it's kind of rough looking.
Yeah.
It has knots in it that I left the knot holes in the face of the paddle. But I scalloped the edge to fit the backside of a set of thighs to match the thigh gap to hit directly sideways in the sit spot.
Oh, shit.
So it is something to get a deep thud in a concentrated area, and then it's a finishing toy.
Finishing
toy. It's like a finishing move.
Yes.
John
it's
Cage wins.
It's
Finish
like two
him.
swats and you're done.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, it's and you don't even have to swing it hard. It's just making contact with it is enough because it will force a bottom forward on a spanking bench to the point where the spanking bench may move.
Oh my God.
Okay, really quick. If no one out there has already done this, please someone do this because I can't do this. Fantasy football is like, you're basing points on other things. We need to have fantasy kink. like who hits the hardest, who has the most pain, blah, blah. And then you place bets and blah, blah, blah. I would get into this so fast.
So I assume you made that toy to get that reaction that you were
Absolutely.
looking for.
Yeah,
Because you
I
just
usually
walk
get it.
in and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, I get the big eyes, the eyes widen, the jaws drop, and then when I break it out, like I've already done a very heavy impact scene with somebody, they're either red or already marked, and then I'm like, all right, it's time. I walk over and I grab it, and I nonchalantly throw it over my shoulder,
like
walk
Captain
back
Caveman.
behind him. Wind up like you're at home plate, like you're getting ready to swing for the fences.
Oh, shit.
And then just whack. And then wait for them to, usually I get a motherfucker. And
that's not a safe word, though.
they raise up off the bench a little bit and they're like, And then I'm like, one more. And then that's usually the end of the scene.
Whoa.
And, end on a high note. Kind of thing.
You've never had anybody go past 2?
I did 3, but
That's your max?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I try to limit it to 2, but I had one person's like, that's it. And I'm like,
Okay, challenge accepted.
yeah, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm done.
So talking of the TV naming of
Yes,
the Captain Caveman, what is your other one?
Cousin It, the flogger.
This name.
Cousin It is a flogger I bought from a vendor out of Minnesota, and it has 49-inch long falls, and it weighs almost 8 pounds.
Good God.
It takes about 12 foot of room to swing it properly.
12 feet.
12 feet. I have to have an area 12 foot in diameter.
Can you eyeball that, or is that like so specific that
Like,
you want
would
to?
you swing it here?
No, because of the ceiling.
Gotcha.
That was my
Wow.
Yeah. So, but probably approximate this area in width.
Okay.
Is what I would need to be able to swing that fully.
This-
Because
this is
you
14
start
feet,
adding
yeah.
a wingspan, of your arms,
Yeah.
plus the length of the flogger, plus the handle, which the handle is, 18 inches long.
Oh, that's
in
on
and of
top
itself.
of.
Yeah, that's on top of the 49-inch long falls. So the leather itself is like 49 inches exposed.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but that's not the heaviest flogger I've ever swung.
What is the heaviest flogger?
It's 15 pounds.
Okay.
And friends of mine and co-leaders of a group I'm leader of made that themselves. They make floggers, and I can get about 20 swings out of it, but the bench scoots forward like an inch and a half every hit.
It travels.
And so, and so again, it's all for reaction to people. It's such a huge, deep, hit with that heavy of a flogger.
Yeah.
That it's to watch people's eyes when you start swinging that for the fences. 15 pounds is a lot.
So now I've never been in that kind of a scene. I've never been really any scene that's not private. But I grew up in athletics. And when you're in athletics, you kind of black out the world around you.
Absolutely.
Do you do that same thing, or are
Yes.
you looking for the reaction of other people as
I
well?
usually only see the reactions when I start walking up
Okay.
to do the whatever it is. If I have to go grab something from the toy bag or grab something from the table, I see people's reactions when I pick it up.
Okay.
After that, the only reactions I see is the bottom, who I'm actively engaged with.
Yeah.
They say you get like tunnel vision.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. When you're in a good scene with someone and you're engaged, you get the tunnel vision. The whole world blacks out. And the best scenes you ever get are with that. I mean, you can have people with their jaws dropped along the wall watching whatever. You don't ever see it. You hear about it, and then you're like, yeah, perfect. But you just kind of focus, all your focus is on them, because not only are you watching what you're doing, making sure you're doing it semi-safely, because everything we do is inherently unsafe, but you want to be as safe as possible. You're watching their body's reaction, looking at the physical cues to make sure that you've not gone too far or you're coming up to the point where it's time to stop. And I will not hesitate to call a scene. I usually do call the scenes before the bottom does.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I watch the physical cues. I watch how their body reacts. I am like, okay, skin's getting thin. I can tell, the way it's reddening up, the way capillaries are coming to the surface.
Wow.
I'm like, it's time to stop.
So that kind of is a little confusing to me, because you said you're a sadist.
Yes.
So in my mind, you're enjoying the pain that you're giving, correct? Or correct me if I'm wrong. Is that what a sadist is?
A true definition of sadism is you enjoy inflicting pain upon others.
Got it. So my question then
But
is,
being a sadist, like I am, I enjoy inflicting what they want. So,
got
The
it.
Dom mentality.
Got
so
it.
basically all I'm doing is everything that we've negotiated out, nothing beyond that. And I want to play with people again. I don't want just one and done.
Okay, but
So-
why are you not waiting for the safe word? That's the part that I'm confused about.
Because you always want to leave them wanting more. If you can't leave them wanting more, have you really truly done the mind fuck that you want? I could have used more. I'm like, I know.
Oh my
Next time. And so you keep building that. It's like, okay, you want to do this again? I'm going to leave you wanting more of it.
So you'll come back and see me.
So you'll come back and see me, or
Ooh.
you'll want to approach me at an event, or
Dude.
you'll talk to me about doing a scene at another party or camping event. I have more repeat players than I do new players, and I'd much rather have repeat players than new players
Right.
any day of the week. Wow. It's like I said, I've got an event coming up in June that I've already got 2 people that I played with in the past that I've already set up scenes with, and they're like, I want to do this again.
That is so brilliant. That is the true definition of playing with somebody's mind before their body. Because I kind of think of the not so great looking guy that meets the hot girl and he's like, whatever, I don't care. Like he's not pawning after her. So like the fact that you pull back before they, dude, that's brilliant.
That, and I know it's been said many times so far on the podcast, you don't break your toys. I've broken implements, but I've never broken a toy. And I don't want to break toys because that leads to a whole mess of consequences down the road. I would rather not have that. I'm willing to deal with the consequences of that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
That's super respectful, by the way. Super.
Yeah. So it's like, there's always that underlying thought that what's the worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Are you willing to go and face the music for that? Because, the sad part is nothing we do is truly legal. You can't consent to having it done to you, and you can't consent to doing it. So if there is an issue, you have to be able to be willing to face the music. And with people that I have built a rapport with, a connection with, and a trust with, yeah, I'm more than willing to do that. So I think that's the big thing is I don't want to harm them. I want to hurt them.
That's what we heard last week at the dungeon. I love that line.
Yeah.
I think that's such like a universal good following mentality.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you haven't done that you want to in your?
Yes. I almost had the opportunity, but the person who was going to let me do it moved away.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah, they wanted to have breast torture done with nails through them into a board. Yeah. I have all the stuff to do it, but just never got the opportunity to do it. So it takes a lot of research on where to do it, how to do it, what to do it with, how to, as safe as possibly do it without causing a lot of permanent damage. It's basically a large gauge piercing. You're just doing it with a hammer versus pushing it in. So, but yeah, it's one of the things that I had kind of looked forward to doing, but didn't get a chance to do it yet.
I'm afraid to ask, but I'm gonna. Do you put the board under the boob?
Yes.
And then you take a nail big enough to go through it?
Yeah, you basically, as it's laying there, you have a sterilized nail that you've, either heated and then soaked in 99% alcohol, and then make sure it's dry before you put it on there, and then line the board with something so it's not food grade, so that way body safe as well. So linseed oil is food safe because you use it on cutting boards. Cutting boards. Mm-hmm. So all my wooden toys that I make are not finished with a varnish; they're finished with linseed oil. Boiled linseed oil.
This is literally what I was going to ask you after the show because I'm doing something with wood outside. I'm like, what would be the best way to do this?
There you go.
So if you can introduce it into your body through your mouth, you should be able to introduce it into your body through your skin.
Mm.
So please be aware that two of the three buttholes in this room clenched.
Yeah.
So yeah,
all my holes clenched, not just my butthole.
Extreme. But yeah. That was
what kind of satisfaction, what kind of feeling would that give you that you haven't gotten so far? Is it the holy shit?
Yeah, just the holy shit I did this kind of thing. Because my first true like CNC torture scene I did, it was not only a mind fuck for the bottom, it was a mind fuck for me as well. Because I'm like, maybe I wasn't fully prepared because it was the first time that I ever had drop. Top drop.
Top drop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about that really quick, just in case someone hasn't seen the show yet?
It really messed with me for a little bit. Like, what kind of person am I to do this? I basically tortured this person. Consensually, of course.
So can you describe a little bit of what
basically, happened? They were chained to a bed frame at a camping event in the woods. Mm-hmm. They were chained to a bed frame. I used a cattle prod to shock them. Multiple times, beat on them,
So was this like an interrogation scene or just a
and included interrogation. Mm-hmm. So there was the mental aspect of that as well. And then waterboarded them.
Oh my God.
They had a nylon hood on, so they couldn't see what was going on, and waterboarded them through the nylon hood.
And just to make sure, if someone's just coming in at this point, this is consensual.
Very much.
This was wanted.
Yes.
This was wanted.
Okay.
And there was witnesses as well. So that was one thing we wanted to make sure that there were people in the background, not in the scene, but
super smart
watching the scene.
Yeah, to make sure that nothing goes sideways.
That there was something that I didn't see or didn't catch.
And
throughout the scene.
that's how you do
Yeah.
it properly with a lot of
Yeah.
preparation.
And so, and that was the scene we finished where I actually branded them with, with a hot iron. Heated it up in front of their face with a blowtorch, counted down as to when I was going to do it. It was like, told them 15 seconds, turned into a minute and a half.
Oh my God.
And just built the anticipation up, So there's where the sadist comes in, just drug it out, talking to him the whole time.
What was the branding, like a logo, a number?
It
like,
was I'm trying to remember now. I think it was like a figure on a small branding iron. It was like a inch and a half size.
It'd be pretty badass if it said "Evil Johnny was here."
Well, I did have some branding irons that said that.
Okay.
They ended up disappearing, but
no.
I usually branded my toys with them. Burn it in. All my toys say "Evil Johnny."
Holy shit!
Oh, the brand. But this one was a I can't. It was a figure of some kind.
Gotcha.
I can't remember.
Just
what
curious.
It was. But on the inside of their thigh. If you're ever going to do hot branding, I don't recommend on the inside of the thigh, but that's where they wanted it.
I don't like being touched on the inside of my thigh.
It's a very sensitive area. So it's kind of the reason why there's a lot of, with one particular group, why there's some new CNC rules.
Can you say what CNC is for the people who don't know?
Consensual non-consent.
What does that actually mean?
It means that even though during a scene, the negotiations have spelled out that they might yell, no, stop, don't do this to me. They have fully consented, and there is a specific safe word that can be, said that everything will stop, instantaneously, which is another reason why it's always kind of nice to have other people in there, because you get into that headspace and there might be background noise, they might be screaming or whatever, and you may not hear it. And if those witnesses to the event are there and they hear it, they can step in.
Almost like
stop.
referees.
Yes, kind of. It's just a safety aspect for both the top and the bottom. And so this scene went on for about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And then it culminated with that branding, and the scream at the campground could be heard throughout the campground.
Oh my God.
Because it was blood curdling. And
what was it, male or were they male or female?
they were actually trans.
Okay. Just curious.
And so we happened to be doing it during breakfast time. So everybody was at breakfast. Well, we figured it was the safest bet to not have a bunch of people try to come in and watch.
Gotcha.
So we're like, let's do it when there's a lot of people around, because I don't want to traumatize a lot of the new people.
Okay, makes sense.
I did anyway. And now there's specific rules about there needs to be CNC in progress in this area, signs up, and a sign on the outside.
Can you imagine it's your first time at the campground and you're having breakfast, and it's like you haven't seen anything yet.
Just like a piece of bacon,
yeah.
And then
we did have some looky-loos outside of the cabin.
I don't know why.
But yeah, the scream pretty much sealed my reputation as evil.
Okay, so while we're on that topic, I've been dying to ask about this. Where did your name come from? Was it choice or given?
Well, originally it was something different. It was based off a drink that I like. It was Johnny Vega
I don't know that one.
It's basically a variation of the Vegas Bomb.
Oh, okay.
Red Bull.
With John Walker?
No, actually Patron and Watermelon Pucker.
whoa.
No shit.
Yeah, oh, it's
You would
delicious.
probably drink that.
I would drink the hell out of that.
I drink it by the tumbler full. It's that good. I mean, you get the Red Bull and the Patron together. You don't know whether you're coming or going most times.
Okay,
but it gets a nice little watermelon kick to it as well. So it's supposed to be a shot, but I mix it up by the tumbler full. And so yeah, it was my favorite drink. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make that my fet name. Well, after, kind of getting a reputation of being a little bit heavy player, and somebody's like, you're kind of evil. And I'm like, yeah, I chuckled, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to change it. And so I did, and it's stuck. So it's going to be that way forever.
Nice.
Have you had any like negative aspects because of the name?
No, not a bit. not a bit. They're like, what makes you evil? And I'm like, well, learn, watch.
Sign up and find out.
And, you know, I think most of the people say it's because when I giggle during a scene,
Yeah, okay.
it's the evil giggle, which makes them want more because they're like, it's that damn giggle that just gets me every time. And I'm like, yeah. Or, you know, checking in with people, you know, I constantly check in with the bottom. And I kind of do it in a way that, you know, makes them feel, you know, like they're being taken care of.
Yes.
I will lean in, I'll whisper in their ear, I'll be like, how you doing? You know, what gets everybody and makes them kind of, I will get down and I'll growl a little bit in their ear and I'll be like, and that's it. And then I'll walk away. And the squirms I get from just always has people asking, what did you say to them? And I'm like, you'll have to ask them. I will not. This is the first time I've ever publicly said what I usually say into people's ear. So yeah, there's people out there still asking what I said to them, and they won't say either. Now there's people I play with know exactly, but they won't say it either.
That's cool.
And so it's kind of a little thing that I like to do, and it usually it makes them squirm and wiggle a little bit because I'm like right in their ear when I do it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and then I'll giggle as I walk away, as I back away, and they're like, fucking giggle.
What?
Like, would that do it for you? Because I know you like that kind of like overbearing kind of thing.
I think so. I definitely think so, especially if I don't know like why he's doing it. You know, like it's so out of left field. Like the whole mind fuck.
It's
Yeah.
the whole mind. It's the whole that, you know, I got you where I want you, and now I'm gonna mess with you.
Anyone who has the name Mindfuck out there, that's a dope name too. What you said earlier about learning, growing, and evolving, that's like my number one thing. Like learning, growing, and evolving should never be a negative.
No.
Like there's no downside to it.
Yeah, constantly educating yourself on different things, either what you're doing or wanting to learn to do things, is huge.
And I was just curious about the lifestyle overall, since you know we're in it for photo and video. Like I feel like we needed to educate ourselves, and then the more we learned, the more we realized how much we didn't know,
and the more you will continue to learn.
Yes,
because every event you go to, there's usually no redundancy on, it might sound the same as a topic, but if it's somebody different, you know, presenting it, it's going to be a whole different point of view.
Right.
And it kind of gives you the opportunity to get different viewpoints and be like, oh, I never thought of that. And so then you go back and you think about that more, you research it more. You know, Google is a great tool, but Google only gives you the most popular answers.
We're learning that. Yeah.
You know, you got to do some deep diving to actually find a lot of the truth in what you're looking for online. And so, you know, it might not be the first 2, 3, 4 pages. You might have to go to page 27 before you get a true, you know, thing written by somebody who's actually lived it and learned it and continues to live it.
So do you recommend that people go on FET to...
FET can be a good place, but I'm going to tell you the most education I ever get is in person at cons.
Right.
Cons
but
or
to
events.
get there, to the
But
cons.
to get to there,
Okay.
you know, FET will show you the events either in your immediate area or within a certain, you know, mile range. I go to events in St. Louis. I go to events in Ohio, you know, here in Illinois. I've been to events in Nebraska.
No shit.
So you've been in this lifestyle how long?
Since about 2013.
And what was your first inclination of, you know?
I always knew there was something missing.
Okay.
And then I had the opportunity to kind of explore a little bit with somebody. It was not in the most healthiest way. Felt like I was coerced into it a little bit because, you know, traditional values of you don't do this to a woman. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of liked it.
And did she coerce you into
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I backed away for a while. And then I'm like, I met a few people through some online chat groups, and then they recommended, you know, joining FetLife. And so I did. And then I met my next long-term partner through that. And Was with them for 10 years and met some amazing people along the way. And now I'm with two amazing partners that I can't believe I'm lucky enough to be with.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Evil Johnny's romantic. This is
oh,
so
yeah,
nice.
I am like a 13-year-old girl at heart. I've been called that too.
That's the next shirt.
Yeah.
And I have her in a cage.
I have had someone in a cage before and shocked them with a cattle prod.
Okay. So cattle prod is kind
I
of
was
like
going to say,
your,
this is
Oh,
come up
it's
a couple
fun.
times.
It's
Okay.
fun. I mean, especially if somebody likes electro play.
See, and that's it. I've been shocked with a kettle prod because of an asshole coach. Not
Are you
because,
serious?
Yeah, they were dicks. But it was not fun. It was not consensual.
and you're
Well,
not
true.
into pain. So
And I was 18.
Yeah.
maybe that was his kink.
Oh, maybe.
Did you ever think
Yeah,
about that?
Still not cool.
And again, it's like I love the reactions
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
get from it because they'll squirm and jerk and everything else. And there's certain ways you can do it to either make it more intense for them or less intense, but more physically intense. Or like, I shouldn't say physically, but like if you arc it, like put one prong on the body
Yeah.
and leave the other one off, it will
Yeah.
arc and spark. It'll throw a spark about that far and will really crack. Whereas if you hit both prongs on the body and then push the button, they feel the whole thing.
Oh shit.
You know, they don't feel the whole jolt from arcing, but it's the crack.
Yes.
Again, it's the mind fuck. So, yeah. I
Have
like
you
to
ever
do
bought
that.
them for anyone?
Yes, actually. I've bought them for flogging. And everything that I own, I've done on myself. Except for
That's
Cousin It. I can't hit myself with that thing. It's just too big.
And you haven't met anyone else who can do it, or you just don't want to?
I don't know. It's such a big and imposing thing that to have somebody that I'm comfortable with doing
Right.
Fair.
would be, a challenge. My one partner does flog me. They learned to Florentine the same time I did. So
What's Florentine?
two floggers at the same time, in rhythm.
Oh, that-
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And so they learned to Florentine the same time I did. So for them to keep practicing, I just said, here you go. So again, that was part of we did that at a con. And I said, it'd be hilarious is just go up to the next event, just walk up to the cross, take my shirt off and have you just start flogging me because here I am, the epitome of he's top. He's all top. Never has anything done to him. And the jaws dropped. And I'm
you got the reaction
I got
too.
messages
Wow.
from people who weren't even at that event. They're
Oh.
like, I can't believe you got flogged. Wow. They're like, we would have never thought. You're the last person we'd ever thought would have got flogged by somebody. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, they're like, just because. And I'm like, yeah, it makes you wonder. I'm like, keep people wondering.
Keep 'em on their toes.
Keep them guessing.
Yeah.
And also, fucking kudos, man, that it's like you're willing to try out the toys and everything else instead.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Because
like, if I hit myself with them, and I don't hit myself lightly with them either. I'm like, is this gonna? First off, is it gonna break? Because everything I'd build, I bench test first. So I either smack it as hard as I can on the bench, and if it breaks, then it goes in the scrap bin. If it doesn't break, then it's like, okay, then I'll hit myself with it. I'm like,
Holy shit.
ooh. That's awful. It's going in the bag.
how big is your bag that you
It's
travel
ridiculous.
with? Okay. Like
As we were
seriously.
talking earlier, we went to an event last summer and we took an enclosed trailer behind my truck with
For
all
your-
our camping gear and toys. I carried 3 totes to the event. One was specifically for fire, and the other 2 were implements for impact play
Yeah.
and other stuff. But yeah, 3 totes. So when I go to an event, it's usually a rolling suitcase, a soft-sided rolling suitcase, a large size one.
Yeah.
And it's wore out. So I'm in the market for, something else.
Camera gear, like
I have looked at
large
those.
tripod
Yeah.
cases. That
I have a new rolling modular toolbox with drawers and
Okay.
dividers that I got for fire. All my fire stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm like,
That makes sense.
it's getting ridiculous. the
Can we
amount of
talk
stuff.
about your fire play? Because you
Yeah.
said that there's something called fire flogging.
Yes.
Okay, so what's fire flogging?
A few years ago, the wonderful Saffron May was at a camping event that I was at and introduced me to fire play. Now, I don't do fire massage because it's not edgy enough for me. So I do cupping, fleshing, shaving, flogging, and whipping.
Okay.
We have new terminology.
Yes. What's flushing?
So fleshing is
Fleshing
where
or flushing?
Fleshing.
Fleshing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where you take the wand and you just rub the lit wand along the body.
Okay.
Keeping it off. Or you take an unlit wand that's soaked in fuel, swiping it down, and then lighting it.
Okay.
And then rubbing your hand across it to put it out.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Shaving is exactly what it sounds like. You're just burning hair off places.
Yeah.
Legs, groin, back,
I did
arms.
that like when I was a little pyro.
Yeah. I recommend you do it outside.
Yeah.
There's also fire bubbles.
Okay, we've heard about this, but we haven't
Yes.
seen it yet.
What is it?
Fire bubbles is a slurry of water and Dawn dish soap, and you inject butane into them, and you create bubbles, and you can light them in your hand, or you can put them on the bottom and light them right on the bottom.
That sounds amazing.
And it's a quick flash.
Yeah.
It's hot. It's very hot because of butane, but it's so quick that as long as you wipe it right away, there's no residual effects.
Wow.
You're going to get wet. You're going to get soapy with fire bubbles, but
As long as it's not on fire.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
It
And
probably
then-
looks really cool on camera.
Yes,
too.
It does,
Yeah.
and it's fun to walk around with a handful of bubbles and just light them and just
Oh, see, I want to shoot that. Like,
Yeah, we should
kind
do
of
it.
like flash cotton.
Yeah,
except
yes.
Okay.
It's a lot cheaper than flash cotton.
No
Okay.
shit.
Okay.
Yeah. And flash cotton takes a lot of maintenance and upkeep. And once you open the package, you got to use it all up.
Really? I didn't know that. I have shit
Yeah.
that's been sitting out for years, so
Yeah.
maybe it's not even good anymore. Okay.
But then, of course, fire flogging, single or dual floggers with that as well. And you can either get close enough to the body or make contact with the body. You just have to have multiple spotters when you actually make contact with the lit flogger.
So the
because
flogger is on fire?
The flogger is on fire. It's
Okay.
made of Kevlar.
Okay.
And
Oh, no shit.
yeah, you soak the ends in alcohol, usually 70%.
Okay.
Depends on where you're at. Some indoor venues allow it, but only allow 70%, and they have designated areas specifically set up for it.
You're not doing like dry ass carpet or something like that.
Yeah, and then exterior events, there's usually precautions taken
Yep.
at those as well.
So I have a question. When
Yeah.
you're hitting somebody with the fire flog, does it
Well-
like go out?
No. It will eventually burn out once the fuel is out, but if you have it lit and you want to make contact, my recommendation is you do it without contact for a while to get the excess fuel burnt off, and then you start slowly moving in to make the
Oh,
contact.
right.
I would imagine that would be pretty intense if you keep hitting them over and over with.
Well, you transfer lit fuel.
Yes.
And if you transfer lit fuel to the skin, you got to have people step in and wipe it
And then
off,
wipe
with,
it
a
off.
Wet, with a wet cotton towel
Okay.
right away. Otherwise, it could cause serious injury.
Oh, do you ever watch? Do you know what mochi is? The Japanese, like, it's pounded rice.
No.
It's typically pretty sweet. How they do it is like it has to be wet, and then you have to pound it with a hammer and wet it, pound it with a hammer.
Okay.
So there are people who do like bop, 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 like it's like so fast.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could do that with like someone clearing off the like. It seems like
Without hitting them?
without hitting them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it would have to
Yeah.
be rapid.
Oh, yeah. And you're not swinging these floggers as fast as what you would like a normal flogger. So you're taking your time.
Oh, okay.
Because it's more of a visual spectacle, and hearing that whoosh of fire as it's coming towards you. Because I will fire flog fronts as well. So bottom has a Kevlar hood on that's rated for actual fire turnout gear.
Yeah.
That protects their face and hair.
that
Oh, okay.
Protects their face and their head. And then if they're doing the front, they're wearing rated safety glasses as well to
very
protect their
cool.
eyes.
Love that. Okay.
Because you're going to get hit with water droplets as that flogger comes around. That burnt fuel, 70%, 30% of it's water. The water's got to go somewhere. It comes out of the flogger. So it comes on you. So it's a mind fuck again.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh my God, I'm getting hit with raw fuel, and it's just water droplets. But seeing that fire, because it's such a primal thing to have fire anyway, because we're inherently supposed to be afraid of fire.
Yeah.
So to have fire coming at your face, yeah, that really messes with people's minds, and it just gets you have that flogger coming at you with it's lit and it's just coming right at your face within inches of your face, and you hear that sound of
Okay.
that.
We need to film and photograph that because that
really
sounds
wanna
fucking
see this.
amazing.
Yeah.
And
But
so
as
when
much
you-
as I love you, I don't want to drive 4 hours. So if you ever come up here and do like any sort of play like that, could you let us know?
I'll be at LCK's camp in the spring, and I'll be doing fire then.
Keeps
What?
sounding
The
better and
camp?
better.
Yeah.
I am not going to camp. I'm sorry. I am not going to camp. I don't care who's there. I know. Jason Momoa can be at the camp, and I'll consider it.
It's not as primitive as it sounds.
I don't care. I can't.
It has running water and
I
showers.
can't.
Yeah.
It has no internet. I can't.
Well, if you got data on your phone, it works.
I can't.
But yeah, and then last year I got into fire whipping. I don't know why.
How's
I
that
wanted
different from fire flogging?
It's
a whip?
inherently different because
All
it
right.
is a whip made of Kevlar.
Oh my God.
It has a metal frame handle. It's Kevlar rope woven into a whip. I had a whip maker that I know. I asked him, "Have you ever made a fire whip?" And he's like, "No, but I'm willing to try." And I said, "Okay, make me a fire whip
So anything you light on fire has to be made out of Kevlar?
if you want it to last." Yes.
I mean, Kevlar stops
otherwise-
projectile shrapnel bullets.
otherwise-
That's the only way I know Kevlar. yeah.
Otherwise, other things disintegrate, fall apart, melt.
Gotcha.
Right.
So Kevlar doesn't, and good quality Kevlar will last. There is a difference in the Kevlar out there as well.
Yes, there are.
I had my first fire flogger basically burn up because it was a cheaper Kevlar that I had bought at a con.
Yeah.
And then the one flogger maker that I deal with, he makes fire floggers as well. So I purchased a pair from him, and they're much higher quality Kevlar. So, but I had never threw a whip anything in my life, and I don't know why I decided I wanted a fire whip. But he made one,
Why not?
and then he came to camp, and he made one at camp for himself.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And he's like, "Oh," he goes, "I kind of like the idea so much." He goes, "I thought I'd make a second." And he goes, "Yours is the prototype." And I'm
Wow.
like, "Okay, cool." So we're just screwing around, and the wonderful Saffron heard all about us having these, and she asked if we'd do a demonstration for science. You got to do things for science. So we get out there, and she's like, "These two professionals." I'm like, no, I'm not. I am a novice of all novices on this. And we had two willing bottoms, and so both of us learned how to fire whip
On the spot.
on the spot in front of the entire campground.
Wow. How did it go?
Well, actually, only one minor mishap, but it happens. It's
doesn't
part of
sound-
it's nature of the beast.
I was going to say, it doesn't sound nearly as bad as it could have been.
No,
So-
it could have been a lot worse. But I really wanted it just for the shock and awe. Light it on fire and crack it and have this big ball of fire. I'm like, okay, cool.
Nice.
Just demonstration purposes. I never really thought I'd hit people with a lit whip. Wow. But yeah, it kind of became a thing. And so right now I've only done it with the initial individual who volunteered to be the guinea pig and my one partner. I will fire whip them. It's not like you're really hitting them hard. You're just usually using the cracker, or as the whip's going out, you'll do a wrap around the hips or the midsection.
Oh, okay.
So the actual body of the whip will hit them, and then the cracker will come around to their front side.
Okay.
How long is the part that hits them?
The actual lit part of the whip is probably about 50 to 60 inches.
Wow. Okay.
The cracker itself is like 8 inches long. So the cracker, we've had issues with it trying to stay lit because it's Kevlar thread. And so it doesn't hold enough fuel to stay
Gotcha.
lit, whereas the body of the whip. So as the cracker's touching the body, it's really not on fire. But when you wrap it, that's when you get that's the opportunity for disaster is when you wrap the body of the whip around their midsection.
Why? What could happen?
Well, the transfer of lit fuel is one. You got to make sure that you don't have a lot of excess fuel in it at that point in time. Otherwise, it can transfer and then cause a burn. And you want to avoid that at all cost.
Again, we are not recommending that you do
That
any
is
of
not
this.
for beginners, let me
Not for
tell you.
beginners, and we are not endorsing.
Yeah, that's why
anything.
we added that new thing to the beginning where it's like
Yeah.
we want to be real serious
And
about
and you,
this.
and you were a seasoned professional by the time you tried this.
Yes,
and even then you were overly
and
cautious.
I still am very cautious about doing it to other people.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'll just do at a tapas event or anything like
Right.
that. I will not do a fire whip.
I respect the shit out of that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because there has to be a much deeper connection and trust with me to do that, because it's worse than fire flogging. It could cause more damage.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just don't want to do that to somebody.
So you brought up a really good point. Like, you call yourself a sadist, and we already talked about that. But you, before the show, you brought up a couple times about how you do want that connection.
Yes.
With your partner.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like why that's important?
To me, it just builds trust. If you can have a connection of any kind, like similar interests, or just being able to sit down and communicate with them clearly, and have them be able to clearly communicate what they're wanting to try or explore. Being able to do that, you can find common ground. And when you can find the common ground with someone, it's a lot easier to negotiate out a scene.
Is it not enough to have common ground, like the kink be your common ground? You need more of a connection than just the kink connection?
For me, yes, because there's been times that I've felt like a kink dispenser, and it doesn't feel the greatest. When you're just getting used because here you are, you're a service top, and you show up an event, and then you just get inundated with requests for play. So when you actually develop connections with people, that's when you get repeat play partners, or repeat people that you've played with in the past, and you don't feel like a kink dispenser, because then you actually develop the connection with them.
Which is why you like the
Which
the
is why I
connections
like
versus
to initially develop a connection with someone,
yes.
whether it's just hey, I see you at this event, for the last 3 times that
Yeah.
it's been held, and we've had conversations each time, or hey, I really enjoyed watching you do this. Maybe next time I could be a part of that. Absolutely.
Okay.
So if somebody is truly genuine in what they're wanting or wanting to experience, then yeah, that can build the connection right there. Just because you want to experience it, and you've seen it happen, and right then and there you want to try it. To me, then I feel like the kink dispenser, which is kind of, a little bit redundant, because when you do tapas, you are a kink dispenser.
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
you're doing it for the right reasons.
Exactly.
Going into it.
I know
Yeah.
going
You
into
are.
it that,
Yeah.
I'm really not going to get anything out of this
Right.
other than
Right.
educating people.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I'm okay with that, because I am a firm believer in educating people on different things.
Agreed.
And I've done it with electro play. I've done it with fire play. I've done it with impact play. Being able to do that, I'm coming away with the knowledge that I've introduced this to people. I've educated them to what I feel comfortable, sharing and giving them. And by telling them that, there's multiple ways to do this, and I am no way, shape, or form an expert in my field.
But you are compared to a lot of other people.
Here's the
Not
thing that I
really.
found over my life, not just in kink, but the more someone proposes they are the end all be all professional in something, the more I find that they are lacking. And the people who say, look, I'm not professional, this is something I'm passionate about, those are the people I find who actually know their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things. It's like everything you do, you got to learn about it. Impact play, you better know anatomy and physiology. Where it's safe, where it's not safe. What you can hit, what you can't hit.
Because what would happen if you hit the wrong spot on somebody?
you could break bones, you could cause kidney damage, internal bleeding. spinal issues. There's a tremendous amount of things that could go wrong.
Can you do me a quick favor?
Yeah.
I want you to look into the camera and actually tell people this because this is so important.
Yeah.
Educate yourselves. If you're going to do any kind of heavy physical play, learn about the body. Learn where things are safe to do things, where it's not. Any kind of play. It's, risk aware. Consensual kink is the huge thing right now. Be risk aware. That's the biggest thing I can say is just be aware of what you're doing and where you're doing it.
What's the biggest mistake you've seen like potential newbies do, or like people that are so excited to try it and they jump right in and then they do
Frenzy.
Frenzy. Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
Newbie frenzy. People come in and they just want to do it all. And damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead. And people coming in like, I don't have any boundaries. All right. Let's do some amputation play.
We literally just talked
yeah.
about this the other day. Yeah.
I know somebody said about cutting a finger off. I'm like, I've actually said, let me cut your arm off. And they're like, well, no.
So you
And
do
I'm
have
like,
boundaries.
you do have
Yeah.
Boundary.
You know, let me punch you right in the face as hard as I can.
Yeah.
No. Well, you got boundaries.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
I'm like, really be serious about your boundaries.
Yeah.
Anybody who comes in and says, well, this is the only boundary I have. I'm like, oh, I bet I can find one. And I bet I can find it real quick.
Oh my God. I would literally
That was
pay
so
money.
fucking intimidating as
Yeah.
hell.
I
but,
would
like,
pay
Yeah.
money to witness a newbie like go.
I would
yeah,
too. I would
like
too.
I'd be like,
and when I say intimidating, I don't mean like oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
scared. But it was like,
Yeah, and
I
that's
love that.
and that's the thing you have to watch out for as a top. You have to watch out, and early on, I found that people were experimenting with me, and I'm like, no, I don't want this. I don't like this.
well, I mean, what joy would that bring you?
It brought none.
Yeah.
It made me feel worse than when I, and I'm like, nope, ain't doing it anymore. So if somebody wants something that, I'm not comfortable doing, I absolutely say no. And, just because I'm a service top doesn't mean I have to do things. I'll say
Yes.
no. I'll say no faster than most bottoms will say no.
So this is what I love. Like, can you talk about saying no? And
Yeah.
like, no is an answer. Like,
Absolutely does.
can you talk about that a little bit?
I encourage people to say no all the time. If there's something in my repertoire that you don't want, say no. If there's an implement in my toy bag, put it in the no pile. You're not going to hurt my feelings at all.
Right.
And if we're not compatible enough to do a scene, I will say, I don't think this is going to work. But here are people that might fit in your wheelhouse.
I love that.
and
I love that.
I love that there's there's
I'm
no
not for everybody.
There's no gatekeeping, I don't think,
Yeah.
in the community as much as it
doesn't
is.
feel like
No,
it.
it's
No.
like, they'll refer out and they'll be like,
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
saffron if you're more into fire play and that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, I'm not for everybody. I'm an acquired taste. And, but I try to tailor the scenes to the bottom. So if they're newer, they'll have an easier time than somebody I've played with for 4 years.
Right.
I assume you don't bring out the big boys for the newbies, do you?
Oh no! I usually lay
Just show
everything
it.
out. I do. I'm like because I like to scare people.
Yeah.
I'll lay everything out and I'll be like, you make a no pile. Oh God. And 9 times out of 10, the bigger and more intimidating stuff goes in the no pile. There's that one time that somebody will be like, I really want to experience this, and I'm like, no, you don't. And then I'll put it in the no pile. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I just left it in there because I wanted to see if you'd pick it. And being that you picked it, we probably ought to not go there.
That's so funny.
And so, it's sometimes fun to mess with people as well, but I do it mainly for my safety and for theirs.
Yeah.
I've had people request one-on-one scenes with door closed, and I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not unless I know you.
I have a quick question about that. So like when we do shooting, like when we film in photo, we make people say I give consent on camera.
Yes.
Because we make sure, like,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year from now, someone can come back and say, well, I didn't consent to that. I was like, well,
Yeah.
we want to make sure you were safe.
If I am not 100% sure on a person, I will have a witness in there. If they want a closed door scene, I'll make sure that they allow a witness.
Why isn't that more
It's for their,
why isn't it more talked about to like do it on camera or to like have some like physical proof of it?
well, I think the big thing is who owns that image then?
Yeah.
Especially in the kink world, who owns that?
Okay.
If the bottom has it, then the bottom controls it. And I know there are some venues and events that say any pictures taken need to be by the bottom or by the bottom's phone.
Right.
Because then they own and control the image. That's fine and dandy for that moment. But after the fact, who truly owns that? Who owns that image and that? So having pictures, everybody needs to be on the same page.
Agreed. Always.
So it's one of those. It's like if you don't have an established connection with that individual, how are you to know that that image is not going to be used some way, shape, or form down the road that you don't have
Yeah.
control
so
over?
the way you said it was
Yeah, that makes
beyond
sense.
perfect.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
why not like a contract?
Because they're not legally enforceable.
Oh, get the fuck
Because
out.
it's
Holy
illegal,
shit.
remember?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Duh.
We keep forgetting that it's
Yeah.
illegal
Yeah.
because
Everyone's so positive
so-
about it, and the
yes,
education is
yes.
really like
Yeah.
safety's first. And
So I like to have somebody who's either well known at an event venue,
Okay.
or is known to both myself and the bottom,
okay, yeah, that
to
makes
be a
sense.
witness to the scene. So if they specifically want a closed door scene, I'll be like, okay, that's fine and dandy, but let's have this person set in on the scene, because it's not only for your safety but for mine.
Why would somebody want a closed door scene?
Body image, being new to kink, maybe they don't want to get undressed in front of other people, or they're not, they may make noises that they might be ashamed of. Not me, man. I want everybody to make the noise. The more noise the better. I'm like, again, it feeds into that reaction junkie.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to hear the sounds you make, and I'm like, and if I don't hear them, I'll make you so I hear them. I'm like, I want to hear those moans. I want to hear those groans.
Something is opening.
Oh my God. I don't know if I'm scared or turned on.
No,
I have
it's definitely
no
the
idea.
turned on part.
Spreading
You
my
too?
darkness. Spreading my darkness across the land.
I absolutely love it. So there's a few things I want to talk about really quick. So let's talk about darkness first. Have you ever heard of McCamey Manor?
No.
I'm not any way promoting this. I'm actually an avid anti-fan of what he's doing.
Oh, you're talking about the scary.
Yeah. So I'm really into haunted houses. Like,
Okay.
I like to be scared, but it takes a bit to get me there. So there's a guy who calls this shit a haunted house, but you come onto his land, you sign a contract, and you're signing away.
Oh, I think
Your
I
life.
have
Yes,
heard of this. I
it's
didn't
like
know
the worst
name.
kind of
Yeah.
torture.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
just
it's literally torture
It's torture
against your will.
and he
Yeah.
gets off on it. But he has a
Yes.
contract in place, so
Yeah.
So people do it. Then the goal is like, if you survive, 48 hours, you can win $1 million. And it's like, it sounds so dumb. Like, I'm not seeing the joy in that, and like I'm surprised that that's not more talked about in the kink community as like, fuck this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Unless it's just marketing.
I think a lot of it's marketing. Now, fear play is a huge kink for people.
Yeah.
It's not one that I really truly go after. There's more of a fear play in just the mind fuck of what's coming next, what's going to happen.
I mean, that is fear play.
It is
Yeah.
fear play, but it's not something that I, say that I'm into providing fear play.
Can you talk a little more about this, because I'm just learning about fear play, and it's
And
sparking.
what does that
the
look
fire.
like?
It's I think part of it is in like I said, it's not something in my wheelhouse, but I think more of it is, scaring people to the point of, they're not sure what's going to happen next. It's the uncontrolled that
Would
they
this
just don't.
fall under like the whole like kidnapping thing?
It can be,
okay.
yeah. It can fall under the consensual non-consent, aspect of it. But yeah, like I said, I'm not That's about all I know about it.
Got it.
Okay.
It just, some of the fear and unknown with the mind fuckery is, just inherent with some of that I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned it more so, but before we started the show, but you mentioned you've made some implements that if they break, they go in the garbage bin.
Yep.
If they survive, they go in the toy bin. We've noticed a lot of people make their own or find very specific dealers,
Yes.
vendors who can make them.
Yes.
Can you advise someone? So someone's getting into this, right? And maybe they're not good at woodworking, like someone I know being me.
Yeah.
Where can they go to find something that's quality versus Amazon?
At cons.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to physically leave the house to go.
Yeah. Or you can, you can check on FET. There are people that make things on FET. There's a multitude of vendors out there.
I mean, is there any kind of
you can
rating
look
system?
under I believe there's groups out there like toy makers. I know there's toy maker
Oh, yeah,
groups.
yeah. I've seen that.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that a
Yeah.
group called Toy Makers?
Yeah, I think I'm part of one of them.
Oh, okay.
Like, homemade or there's like toy maker groups out there.
Okay.
And different vendors have their different things. You can look under, individual groups like LCK's group. I know there's a few vendors associated that
I
do a
met
lot of
one
stuff
of
with
them,
them. There's, a vendor out of Wisconsin, two vendors out of Wisconsin that I, frequent. There's, I believe it's AIS Labs out of Kansas, I think is where they're out of. They make some very high quality stuff as well. There's a gentleman out of Minnesota that I've purchased from. Makes high quality stuff as well. But yeah, just finding what fits your needs is sometimes difficult.
Yeah, right?
And who you play with as well. Like if they don't like stingy, you definitely don't want anything varnished.
The varnish?
Varnish makes wood things implements stingy.
Really?
Yes. It's just the smooth. It creates a smooth surface that just doesn't transfer well on the skin.
Yeah.
The other thing is hydration. Hydration of your bottom.
Oh, can you talk about that a little bit? 'Cause we haven't
Drink
really
your
brought
water.
that up yet.
Drink your water. Lotion.
Okay.
Lotion the skin. It puts the lotion on the skin.
Or else it
Or
gets
it
the
gets the paddle again.
or it gets the hose paddle.
Yeah.
That you were
Why-
talking
why
about
is that
earlier.
the fire hose paddle. Yeah.
Why is hydration important?
Hydration, it makes the skin more pliable, more flexible,
Like when we shoot.
and softer. I can tell from experience and from one partner's experience, if they're not hydrated properly and lotioned up, it feels a lot more stingy.
No
Then
shit.
thuddy.
Interesting.
Yep. And then I have one paddle that I purchased. I believe it does have a light varnish finish on it, but it is, she's like, oh, it's stingy as fuck tonight. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm hitting it on the side. I'm not even hitting a full face of it. She's like, yeah, I forgot the lotion. And I'm like, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And she's like, well, how come that paddle doesn't feel as stingy? I'm like, because it's just linseed oil finish. There's no stain, no varnish, no
Wow.
It's a natural wood. And so,
Okay.
yeah. But you take the chance of if you do break the skin and there is, blood on it, that is their implement from that point forward.
Oh,
Wait,
Yeah.
that's cool.
you mean that?
Yeah. If you break the skin and it gets blood on it, it is their toy.
You give it
that-
to them because now you're
It's yours.
contaminating.
It's yours. It is blood bonded, fluid bonded to you.
Okay, so first and foremost, respectable as hell because of the medical
Yeah.
aspect of that.
Yep.
But the spiritual side of that
Yeah.
is
That's really
beautiful.
cool. That's really cool.
Any kind of, like paddles with like spikes, vampire paddles, things
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that. They're fluid bonded.
Okay, but what about like your custom big paddle. If like that happens, like
It's
would
fluid
you
bonded to that
Really?
individual, and they own it.
You're fully aware going into it that your baby.
Wow.
Yep. I've broke a paddle over somebody before, and I'm like, well, do you want the remnants? Because it's yours.
I mean,
You
yeah,
know? And they're like,
I hope they framed it and hung it in their room.
they fucking better have.
but I've had paddles that are fluid bonded. They go
Holy
with that
shit.
person.
That's really cool.
That's really beautiful.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, it's it's a safety thing.
yeah,
We're trying to do this as safe as possible.
Absolutely.
And things happen, and when things happen, you have to be willing to
Yeah.
take responsibility for it, and that's the best way to do it. Is like, here you go, it's yours. Enjoy.
The way you said it was so intimate and kind and like thoughtful and
Yeah.
purposeful, like with intent, not just like, well, I guess I gotta get rid of this. It's like, no, this is yours.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I'm fully aware that at some point in time I could be doing a scene, and I could have one of my most favorite toys end up going home with somebody else.
And you literally mean toy, not your partner.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, that was good. That
I mean,
was good.
it's such an intermixed
Yeah.
phrase, toy,
Yeah.
word, toy, implement, partner, toy, Yeah. But yeah, you could very much have your most favorite implement going home with somebody. And that can be flogger. That could be, it could be a $300 flogger going home with somebody.
That's what I was
Because
thinking.
if it gets blood on it, it's theirs.
What are like the kind of price ranges now? This is something I've never looked for a toy.
Well, it depends. If you want quality, you're going to pay for it.
For anything in life, I agree with this.
Yeah. If you want quality, you're going to pay for it. And the more work that goes into that implement, the higher the price.
Okay.
So if you're wanting a good quality flogger, you're going to pay anywhere from $150 to $200+ for it.
That's actually not as bad as I was thinking.
If you want a pair of those floggers, be willing to prepare to pay over $300 for them.
Fair.
Fire floggers are about $160 a piece.
I was expecting that to be more. Like Kevlar alone, I know a little bit about Kevlar, not extensive amount, but
So
that shit's expensive.
It is. And, these people are craftsmen. They take their time. They do the job. They do it right. If you're going to do this, it's like any kind of tool in your repertoire. If you're a mechanic, you want the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a top or an impact top, you want the right tool for the job. And that could be many tools, because what might be good one time for an individual, they might want something different the next time, or
Right.
they want to progress from, this point to this point throughout a scene. So, start off slow, build intensity, and, build with, more intense toys.
If you had to guess how many tools you have, what would that number be?
In excess of 200 things in my 3 totes.
Holy shit.
And that can be anything from a tiny little carbon fiber rod with a wooden handle,
Yeah.
which is evil incarnate, I will tell you that much,
We're learning that very quickly, that the small ones are the scary ones.
to Wartenberg wheels, to pressure point tools, to sap gloves, to paddles, to floggers, to fire cups, to fire wands, all of that stuff. There's just it's an expensive hobby.
No kidding. I was just thinking that the amount
and
of
it's more
money.
than a hobby. It's an expensive.
Lifestyle?
It is. To do it and not be, I'm not going to say part-time, because I pretty much live it every day. The whole dominant mindset aspect. It is a chosen way of life, and it ain't cheap.
Can you give an example of how you're living your dominant lifestyle every day where it doesn't include impact?
I'm in charge all the time.
Okay.
24/7, I'm in charge. My personal life, I'm in charge. And so I try to take the values that I've learned in the lifestyle and kind of cross them over into my personal life. So how you can get things done by the learning, growing, and evolving. Since I've got into the lifestyle, I've noticed that my professional life has also, ramped up with that.
Can you give an example of what that looks like?
Just continuously educating myself, whether it be for kink, for work,
And I assume that it also gives you more confidence, like just in your interactions and everything.
It does, but it's not an overconfidence. It's, I'm going to do the best that I can in all aspects. I joke around with my one partner. It's like, I'm just out here trying to do my best. And I try to do that in everything that I do. So I try to do that in kink. I try to do that in my personal life, my professional life. I try to treat everybody with, respect and integrity, in all avenues. And by doing that, it has allowed me to grow as a person and grow in my profession as well and become respected in both, I believe. I feel like I'm respected in the kink community.
You came highly
recommended by several people.
And I respect the people who recommended me.
And I think if you were in this lifestyle, but you came at it with a very like cocky,
bravado.
Obviously you're a macho looking dude.
And I'll admit, when I first started, and first became that, it's very easy to get into that mindset.
And that was my next question.
And then it's
How
very
do you
easy to get knocked down multiple pegs.
Okay, so
and then
there's
it's
like a caution
what
barrier.
am I doing wrong here? And so you have to be willing to look at yourself. You have to look at yourself first and foremost and be like, how am I screwing up? What am I doing
therapy.
wrong? Exactly. And you have to be able to learn and grow and evolve from your mistakes and from your successes. Learning from your successes is probably more important than learning from your mistakes, because you make fewer mistakes when you learn from your successes.
Oh,
that's smart.
We've always went into it thinking the opposite, like especially in like sports. It was like, well, typically like when you win something, you come off like a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's like that's good, but when you lose, you kind of like analyze it.
You do, but you can overanalyze it as well.
That's super
and you
true.
can go down some very dark rabbit holes when you overanalyze things. But if you start off slow and you start off appropriately with your skill set, and then you keep learning and you keep succeeding and you keep growing and you keep evolving and you keep evolving those skills and keep educating yourself, those successes start adding up, and you can learn more from those than you can from screwing up every time.
That's good
Oh,
advice.
fuck, where's your next self-improvement book coming out?
Yeah.
I'm coming to the book signing.
I can't write a book.
So speaking of that, you have a very calm demeanor, and I'm sure that's different in a scene when it's appropriate. But
I love the juxtaposition of the way he
Me
looks
too.
and how like mild mannered he is, because it's almost like oh my God, like it's like keeping me on my toes. Like I'm waiting for him to like go off.
like you said.
I know, I know.
So literally, like one of the things I wrote down here is like, how can I be a better dom? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to ask that yet because I know that's like a whole fucking other topic. But have you ever considered teaching?
I have done some classes, basically on just specific types of play.
Yeah.
Impact play, electrical play, fire. But my one partner and I have put together a class that we are hoping to do at one of the camps for
Okay.
LCK. Better topping and better bottoming.
That sounds,
Together.
yes.
Because most of the classes that you go to for better topping or better bottoming are always divided. And then those folks who identify as switches have to make a choice.
Yeah, well, right.
And
right.
this way,
that's
we're
smart.
like, let's do it together. Let's make it a round table type discussion, and then everybody's involved. Because honestly, to be a better top, you need to know more about bottoms.
Correct.
And what their thought process is and what they are wanting, needing, and desiring, that makes you a better top. What better way and place to learn is in a class that teaches you about being a better bottom?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what they want, how can you give it to them?
I could see you doing like a whole weekend like retreat for this. You have this kind of mindset where it's not a one and done
Yeah.
thing. It is a lifestyle thing.
It is. It is.
And like you need to take in like there's a lot of different aspects. Like
And I have been told that I'm very passionate about the lifestyle, and I am, but I'm very passionate about education and doing it the right way.
right.
And I've had conversations with new people that I'm like, you need to slow down. You know, I notice the signs of frenzy in you. You need to take a step back. You need to chill out. You need to really focus on what your needs are and not just what your wants are.
That's
Full fucking
wow.
stop. That was beautiful.
I don't know if we can end it a better
No,
way.
I mean, like, I want to wrap it up.
Yeah.
That was like,
Yeah.
that was really good. That
Wow.
was like,
Can you say that again?
Well, your wants, needs, and desires, if you have all these wants, but what are you truly needing? If you can work on your needs first, the wants will follow. And then, because your wants and desires are pretty much similar, but your needs, what you need as an individual, whether it be a top or a bottom, getting those needs met is the best thing ever. It brings you joy. Happiness, I've learned this in the last couple of years. Happiness is a day-by-day thing. But joy is what really cements a person. And finding that joy is you find it in your needs. Having your needs met, you find that joy. I didn't know what joy was for a long time. I thought I knew what happiness was. But when I found that joy, holy cow, it's a game changer.
And what was the joy for you?
Just being able to be my true, authentic self with the people I cared about.
I get that.
I had one amazing partner at the time, and I thought all my needs were being met. And then I started having a conversation with an individual, just conversation. There was no agenda by either of us. It was just conversation. And then, I got talking with my partner, and they're like, she's meeting needs that you didn't even know you had. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I had friends chime in. They're like, she's fulfilling needs that you didn't realize you were missing out on. Because they're like, but when you're talking about these two individuals, your partner and this other person, you're glowing. And I'm like, oh my God, they're right. And I'm like, and so it's where my second partner came in, was fulfilling needs that I didn't even know I realized I had. And having those needs met by both of those, it brought me so much joy, and continuously. Like I said, happiness is a day-by-day feeling, but joy is something that can last. And having those needs met, your wants and desires are great. They bring you happiness.
Right.
But needs bring you joy. And I think having your needs met as a top and a bottom is going to bring you that joy that leads to that day-by-day happiness as well. And then you can start fulfilling the wants and the desires. But getting those basic needs met, that's what really cements it for us.
It feels like when your needs are met, you're equivocally giving those needs of someone else at the same time.
Exactly.
Because you have more energy. If your needs are met,
I mean,
you're
yeah.
more fulfilled overall. So you can
definitely.
give
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
And-
mean, like even like as receiving the needs.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
And it should be effortless.
Shouldn't it always?
Yeah. It shouldn't feel like work.
This
You know,
shit got real deep.
I know. I love it though. This I'm getting like a
This is the
little
reason
bit
I started this.
misty eyed. Yeah.
Dynamics, relationships, if you're getting your needs met, it shouldn't feel like work. They always say relationships are hard work. To a point. But if you're truly meeting each other's needs, it shouldn't feel like work. I mean, it shouldn't be exhausting.
Because you give and take. You share that energy, the
You
back
share
and
that
forth.
energy. Compromises are almost non-existent. You're just doing things because it feels right to do them.
I have a question. So
Yes.
you had your primary partner.
No, neither one of we
There's
practice
no-
relationship anarchy, so there is no hierarchy.
Okay,
with
tell
our
us
relationship.
about that.
Beautifully
Okay.
said.
So
Beautifully
relationship anarchy is we do not have any hierarchical roles.
There's no primary or secondary.
There's no
They're just your
primary, secondary
partners.
partner.
Okay.
So I have one partner that is just a partner. While it is a romantic relationship, she also bottoms for me. She is a Sam, a smart ass masochist.
Oh, we just heard about this. Yeah.
And we met in the lifestyle, and
How long have you had that relationship?
little over maybe about a year and a half now.
Okay.
But we met a few years prior to that and had actually done a couple scenes and had been discussing doing more scenes when I ended up going through my divorce. And, we became very close friends and talked a lot. And that was going on, and kind of one thing led to another. And neither of us were looking for a relationship, and bam, here we are.
Tail was
A
over
year
all
and a
this
half
time.
later.
Yep.
And then my other partner is my submissive. And so we do have a dynamic there. But it is not a traditional dom sub, but there is a romantic part to that relationship as well. And so one is not more important than the other. We don't practice any hierarchy in the relationships. We are in a relationship and we don't live together. So I spend most of my time either driving to one place or having the other one over, or vice versa. And it works. It works well. And they both get along with each other.
That's
Communication,
amazing.
Oh
honesty.
yeah, communication is key.
Yeah.
I mean, we just went to the event last weekend for LCK together. Stayed in a hotel room together.
That's so
and it
cool.
just it's everybody's included.
So when you were in your initial relationship, I'm not going to say primary partner, but the first kink relationship, did you consider yourself poly at that point, and you were open to other relationships?
We were ethically non-monogamous.
Okay.
And we did have a third join us a few times. We actually even tried the swinging lifestyle. Swinging isn't for me. I'll be honest about that. But poly is.
What's the difference in your mind, and why is swinging not for you?
Swinging's not for me because it just doesn't feel like I can develop a deep enough connection with someone in the swinging. Now, granted, people do it all the time, and kudos to them. I'm
Rock
like,
on.
more power to you. It is not for me.
Gotcha.
There's no judgment by me for that whatsoever. Poly for me is I'm more of a one-on-one person. I can have multiple partners. I can be successful with multiple partners. I've found that right now my limit is 2. And that works well.
Yeah.
And so I think, being able to be open and honest with them, and that to me is a huge thing, is honesty. If you cannot be 100% honest with me, then it's not going to work. I practice radical transparency. I'm like, I do not hide anything from any of my partners. It is all my cards are on the table. If I'm talking to somebody who wants to do a scene with me, they are going to know about it.
Yeah.
I will show them the conversations. I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
Do I expect them to do the exact same? No, but I do expect honesty out of them. If they're talking to somebody, I do expect to know about it. I don't need to know intimate details, but I do need to know that they're in a conversation. I will give as many details as they want. I have no problem doing that. So for me, the communication is key. If you do not have that honest communication, none of this will work. and you have to be willing to be communicative with them, and you have to be willing to listen. And with that listening, you need to be able to hear what they're saying. You can listen all day long till they're blue in the face, but if you don't hear what they're truly saying, then it's never going to work. And that's not just in verbal form either. That's in written form. And I see so many people struggle with that, like hearing what people are saying. Messages that people get on FetLife from just random people about, did you really take the time to read my profile? Because if you did, you would have heard what I said loud and clear in there. And they don't. 90% of them do not.
Yep.
And then you get that 10% that are respectful and everything else and actually hear what was written, then, people can have conversations. And it's like, take the time. I'm like, communication is what it's all about. If you can't communicate, you're never going to go far in this lifestyle.
Yeah. Or in life, period.
Or in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
amazing how
especially
many
the
people skate by in
that's
regular
true.
life.
Yeah,
But
that's
in the kink lifestyle, communication and actually, being able to hear what is said is a huge thing.
Yeah.
You can listen all day long, but if you don't actually hear the gist of what's coming out of people or what they've wrote, then that's a bigger problem.
Because I mean, if you like, you make a mistake in a vanilla relationship, like you'll have a pissed off person, right? But like in this lifestyle, like you could have a fucking dead person if you're not paying attention and listening.
Who hates you?
Exactly.
And, like there's a lot of aspects.
So you don't want to fuck around.
John, do you go by EJ, Evil Johnny?
Most people call me Johnny. Okay. I've been Johnny for so long in the lifestyle that people can be like, hey, Johnny, and I'll turn around in public. And I'm like, I've had people call me Johnny in public, and they're like, who are they talking to?
Story for another time.
Yeah.
But thank you unbelievably for taking the time to not only drive all the way up here,
no problem.
For educating us and giving us like a better taste of life.
It's like variety is I love the variety in this lifestyle. It really makes life interesting. I mean, you can say you do all these things, but man, doing all these things is a blast. I'm going to be honest. I haven't been to an event yet that I haven't come away with, I enjoyed myself in the last 2 years.
Oh, fair.
Prior to that, there's been some events where I'm like, it didn't go quite as well as I hoped it would. I still had fun.
Yeah.
But these last couple of years, the events have been amazing. And it's like, I think a lot of it has to do with your outlook and how you approach everything. And I think being able to have that joy and going to these, you get so much more out of it. I'm like, I will be the first person to throw my partner up there when they're asking for volunteers. I'll be like, her. And she'll be like, I don't want to go in front of people. But then she gets up there and she has a blast.
There it is.
Yeah. So it's like
hearing them.
Yeah. Yep. Seeing their reaction. And just being able to go to these events and meet people. And I am very much an extrovert, and both my partners are introverts. So
that's fun.
I force extroversion on them, and so it's like, you're coming with me, and it's like, do I? But deep down they really want to, and so they end up having a blast. And
but you know them well enough to do that.
Right.
And because I'm outgoing, I'll just start talking to anybody. I can start a conversation with a presenter after a class, and I'll talk with them for 20 minutes, or a half an hour, and they're like, I gotta go. And I'm like, me too. I should have probably been to the next class by now.
Me and his wife always joke that he goes to the bathroom and comes out with a friend, And when she first told me about it, I'm like, haha. But now I see it. I'm like, can you just stop making friends in the bathroom? It's weird, but that's who he is.
And I've met people at different events, and then. I was just told Saturday night, they're like, I learned so much from watching you. And I'm like, really? And
that's
they're like,
cool.
They're like, yeah. I'm like, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't, and ask questions and things like that. And it's just,
But it's because it's one thing to, yap about what you do, but like showing it and living it
and just in
as an
practice,
example. Exactly.
and actually seeing, how you do a scene or how you, do aftercare, things like that. It's very much, a visual learn in this lifestyle.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much you visually learn things.
I was going to say, you could read a book all day.
You can read a book all day long, and until you actually do it, I mean, you're going to have mess ups. You're going to fall on your face, but you got to learn somehow.
And you got to learn from your successes.
You do. You got to learn from your successes, and failures happen all the time. Successes can be fewer and farther between, but when they do happen and they happen consistently, that's great.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
The consistent successes are the best part.
Okay, there's no better way we can end it.
This
than
is it. This is it.
If someone wanted to reach out to you, how could they find you?
FetLife. Evil-Johnny on FetLife. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
Cool. And are you okay with people connecting with you, asking questions?
Yep. They can message me all they want.
I might not answer. If they're a jerk.
Please be appropriate.
Don't send dick pics unless requested.
Oh my God, no. You will be blocked instantaneously. But yeah, I'm always open to respectful questions or appropriate questions from people. Like I said, I'm passionate about the lifestyle, and I enjoy talking about it, even though I was nervous about doing it. But
it did not come off.
No, not at all.
Yeah, to me, it's just more than a phase. It is something I live at 24/7, and while I may not be doing scenes 24/7, it is my life, and it's a big, huge part of my life.
Well, that's a wrap.
If this episode cracked something open for you, confused you, turned the light on, or made you rethink some old assumptions, that's the point.
Sex, kink, and desires are never one size fits all. They're personal, they're evolving, and they deserve way more respect than the stereotypes give them.
We're not here to tell you what to want. We're here to champion everyone figuring it out for themselves, safely, consensually, and without shame.
If you learned something today, sit with it. If something challenged you, interrogate it. And if something resonated, explore it.
You can find out more of our work, our art, and everything bad at boudoirafterdark.com.
And if you're brave enough to keep learning with us,
we'll see you next time. Stay curious.
Stay unapologetic.
Stay bad.
You are my toy.
The Boudoir After Dark podcast is brought to you by Boudoir After Dark, creating photo and video art for the unapologetically erotic. The podcast is produced by Jason Osterkamp, Hilda Burke, and Donna Van. Music by Temple of Hunger.